Quick disclaimer, this is a fictional, original story created for entertainment and educational reflection. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. My 7-year-old daughter found it before I did. She was standing in my parents' hallway staring up at this giant hand-painted family tree mural. 52 faces, 52 names, like it was some kind of museum piece. Then she turned around and said, "Mom, I can't find me." I laughed at first, like that nervous little laugh you do when your brain is trying to protect you. So I walked over, still holding a tray of dinner rolls, still playing the role I always play in that house. And I started looking. I found my sister, her husband, their kid, cousins I barely speak to. I even found people who weren't family, but I didn't find me, and I didn't find my daughter. That was the moment I realized we weren't forgotten. We were erased. We weren't forgotten. We were erased. And what made it worse? I wasn't even surprised, because if you've never hosted Christmas in a house where you're technically family, but somehow you're also the live-in maid, let me tell you, there's a very specific kind of misery that comes with it. By noon, I'd already washed 3 rounds of dishes, reheated appetizers twice, saved 2 burning trays of potatoes from turning into charcoal. Meanwhile, my mom, who swore she couldn't use her arm, sat in the dining room like a general at war calling out orders without even looking up. My daughter Ellie floated around in her little red dress, trying so hard to help. And my mother snapped, sweet as poison, "Sweetie, go play. Tara can handle this." Then she said it like it was a compliment. Tara always handles this. I kept my smile tight, polite, practiced. In that house, dry humor wasn't a personality trait. It was a survival skill. All day, everyone kept buzzing about my parents' big surprise, a giant family tree mural they'd hired an artist to paint, months of planning, weeks of bragging. And every time I asked to see it early, I got brushed off. "You'll see it with everyone else. It's special." So I tried to believe it. For Ellie, because she was excited, and I wanted, just once, to feel like we were included in something that mattered. But when she tugged my sleeve and whispered, "Mom, I can't find us," it didn't feel like a decoration. It felt like a message. And suddenly, every dish I'd washed, every bill I'd handled, every quiet time I'd swallowed my pride, it all snapped into focus. And I knew this Christmas wasn't going to end the way they expected. Top of form, bottom of form. And if you've ever been the one who always handles it, I want you to hear me. Love isn't supposed to feel like unpaid labor. You're allowed to set boundaries, even with family. And I knew this Christmas wasn't going to end the way they expected, because leaving wasn't just about a mural. That night, after we walked out and checked into a hotel, Ellie fell asleep fast, curled under that stiff white duvet like she finally had permission to breathe. But I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and felt this ugly truth crawl up my spine. You don't cut someone out of your life all at once. You do it slowly, layer by layer, year after year. And my parents had been doing it to me since the beginning. I'm 2 years older than my sister, Heather, and somehow that tiny gap turned into a life sentence. If there was a mess, I cleaned it. If something broke, I fixed it. If Mom needed help sorting bills, packing boxes, organizing holidays, she called me. Heather's job was to exist. Mine was to keep existence running smoothly. There's this memory I can't shake. I was around 10. My parents wanted the hallway repainted before a gathering, so I spent an entire Saturday painting. Primer, 2 coats, trim, everything. Heather walked through once and said, "Pretty." The next day, someone complimented the paint job. My mom smiled and said, "Isn't Heather talented?" I stood there holding the empty paint can, feeling like a confused extra in my own life. I told her I painted it. Mom didn't even blink. Yes, but she helped pick the color. That was the first time I laughed out of disbelief, and it never really changed. As we got older, Heather was always busy. Busy with clubs, busy with projects, busy building the perfect life my parents wanted to show off. If I ever asked for help, my mom would say, "Oh, Tara, you're so good at this. You don't mind doing it right." Right. Then adulthood hit. I became a single mom. Heather got married, had Kira, started posting that color-coordinated life online. And my parents ate it up like it was proof they'd raised a masterpiece. Every little thing Heather did was groundbreaking. Everything I did was convenient. "You got promoted?" my mom would say. "Oh, that's nice. You manage everything on your own. Impressive considering, And considering always had teeth. 2 years ago, it all snapped into place like a trap. Mom broke her arm. Suddenly, the house was chaos and Dad couldn't cook a frozen pizza without burning the box. There was a family discussion about who could move in temporarily to help. Heather was too busy. Kira had ballet. Blake had work. Heather had a presentation. All very convincing, if you didn't look too closely. So guess who moved in? Me and Ellie. It was supposed to be temporary, except Mom's arm healed, then healed wrong, then was still sore, then became unsafe for housework. Funny thing, her arm worked perfectly anytime she visited Heather's house, and still I stayed, not because it was fair, because guilt has a way of sounding like responsibility. Just real talk. If you've been trained to confuse guilt with duty, you're not weak, you're conditioned. And unlearning that is a quiet kind of bravery. By Christmas, I'd been living in that house long enough that my life felt like background noise. Cook, clean, pay rent, file paperwork, repeat. So when my parents kept hyping up the big surprise, a part of me, this stubborn little part, wanted to believe it might finally include us. The hallway mural stayed covered under a huge canvas sheet, like a sacred relic waiting for its unveiling. Then around 4, the house hit peak chaos. Aunts and cousins piled in, shedding coats, laughing like they were in a holiday commercial. My parents glowed, welcoming everyone like royalty. My dad clapped his hands and announced, "All right, everyone, gather around." People shuffled closer with wine glasses and rosy cheeks. Ellie squeezed my hand, eyes wide. My parents grabbed the corners of the canvas and, dramatic flair and all, pulled it down. The crowd gasped, applauded. Someone actually whispered, "Oh wow, this is beautiful." I barely glanced at it because I was holding a platter of rolls and trying not to launch it into the wall. When you're the designated servant of Christmas, appreciation isn't part of the job description. Everyone swarmed the mural like moths to flame. I slipped back to the kitchen to fix the gravy, because Mom said it was too thin, which is also what she used to say about my personality. I didn't even notice Ellie wander off. 20 minutes later, everyone was seated. Wine was flowing. My dad was mid-toast to family unity when Ellie returned. She tugged my sleeve. "Mom." I knelt. "What's wrong, baby?" Her eyes were shiny. Not crying, just held back. Like she didn't want to cause trouble. "I can't find me," she whispered. "Or you." I looked really hard. "Can you help me?" Something in me went ice cold. I stood up. My mother hissed, "Tara, sit. We're making a toast." "No," I said, and my voice didn't shake. "Not tonight." Ellie led me into the hallway. The mural filled the wall. Gold branches, watercolor portraits, names in perfect script underneath. I scanned it once, then slower. I found Heather, Blake, Kira, 5 cousins, 3 second cousins, the cousin who never calls, the cousin's wife. I found the neighbor from 2 houses down. I found the au pair who lived with us for 1 year a decade ago. I found my mother's best friend. I swear I found a distant great aunt who hasn't been conscious since 2003. But not me, not Ellie. Ellie's voice went small. Maybe they spelled my name wrong. My heart cracked, because I wanted to lie. I wanted to protect her with some soft excuse, but the truth was right there in paint and gold leaf. We weren't missing. We were excluded on purpose. I marched back toward the dining room. My mom was laughing with a guest, wine glass high, holiday joy on display. "Mom," I said quietly, "Ellie and I aren't on the mural." She blinked like I'd commented on the weather. Oh well, there wasn't enough space. I stared at her. "There are 52 people on it." "Yes," she said, dismissive. "It couldn't fit everyone." "It fit the au pair," I said. "It fit the neighbors." Her smile tightened. "Tara, you're making a scene." A scene. My daughter's name erased, and all she felt was annoyance. Behind me, Ellie stood very still. That decided it. I leaned down to her and spoke softly like I was giving her permission to be brave. "Sweetheart," and I go upstairs. "Pack your backpack." She nodded once and ran. And in that moment, the whole house, every laugh, every toast, every fake ornament of family started to feel like a stage I was finally walking off. And in that moment, the whole house, every laugh, every toast, every fake ornament of family started to feel like a stage I was finally walking off. I didn't explain. Not to my parents. Not to the guests. Not to the people staring like I'd shattered the Christmas spell. I went upstairs, grabbed my own bag, and came back down with Ellie's hand in mine. Forks froze midair. Someone whispered, "Are they leaving?" Yes, we were. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't owe them a performance. Outside, the night air was crisp. Ellie shivered, clutching her little backpack. I loaded our things into the car and slid into the driver's seat. She buckled slowly, eyes still wide. "Mom, where are we going?" I started the engine. My hands felt steady for the first time in years. "Somewhere better," I said. "We're starting over." She nodded like she trusted me more than she feared the unknown. That first night in the hotel, Ellie slept, curled up like she finally felt safe. I lay awake, because the mural wasn't the beginning. It was the proof. The next morning, I opened my laptop like I was preparing for war. First target, money. I pulled up the rent transfer my parents insisted on and hit cancel. Then the grocery transfers, the extra utilities, the insurance line I'd been paying because you're good with paperwork, Tara. Click, click, click. Each cancellation felt like cutting another rope off my chest. Ellie patted over, hair sticking up everywhere. "Mom, what are you doing?" "Freeing us," I said. She watched the screen, fascinated. "Can I help?" "You know what?" I slid the laptop toward her. "Yeah, press that." She pressed confirm cancellation like it was a superhero button, and I swear she'd never looked prouder. Then I pulled up cabin listings and said, "Pick one." Her face lit up. She pointed to a tiny lakeside cabin with a deck and a fireplace. I booked it. She whispered, "Mom, didn't you say we didn't have money?" "We didn't," I said. "But we just stopped paying people who didn't treat us like family." My phone buzzed. Again and again. "Where are you?" "Come home now. The kitchen is a disaster. Who's supposed to clean it?" I stared at that last line and something went calm inside me. I typed one message. "We're not on your family tree. Handle your own family." Then I put my phone on silent. Boundaries don't have to be loud to be real. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can say is simply, "No more." And sometimes the healthiest thing you can say is simply, "No more." 4 weeks later, the quiet in our new apartment still felt unreal. I blocked my parents. I blocked Heather. A few relatives tried to slip in with the guilt parade. "Your mother is devastated. Stop being dramatic." I kept it simple. It's private. I'm focusing on my daughter. Heather even showed up at my workplace, panicked because my parents' house was falling apart without me. And when she finally admitted, "I don't have time," I just said, "Neither did I." But I did it for years, and they erased me anyway. Not long after, my parents waited outside my building. My mom begged. My dad demanded. And I said it calmly where Ellie could hear it. "You don't need a daughter. You need a maid." About a year later, I heard they had to sell the house. Their circle shrank. Meanwhile, Ellie and I thrived. This spring, I put a down payment on a little house. With a big window Ellie immediately claimed for her art. Here's what I took from it. Love without respect turns into control. If any part of this feels familiar, start small. Write the pattern down so you don't doubt yourself later. Set one clear boundary, keep kids out of adult conflict, and quietly build your own financial and emotional footing. And if things escalate into threats or harassment, please talk to a trusted professional in your area. Choosing peace doesn't make you cold. It makes you brave.